The NTSB released an update to the preliminary investigation of a UPS plane that crashed in Louisville, Kentucky. What was in that report? Hi, I'm Morgan, and this is an aviation safety update. The first section of the update just gives details about the crash. So it happened on November 4th, 2025 at about 5:14 Eastern Standard Time. It was UPS flight 2976, and it was a Boeing MD-11. The plane was trying to take off from runway 17 right at Louisville's airport. There were 3 crew members on board and 11 people on the ground, and all of those were tragically killed, and 2 people on the ground were seriously injured. 21 people on the ground sustained minor injuries. So the second section right here is an NTSB materials laboratory exam update. So this part of this was indicated in the preliminary report that was already released, and so airport surveillance videos captured part of the plane's takeoff, and they showed that the left number 1 engine and pylon separated from the wing shortly after rotation, and a fire ignited on the left engine and near the area of the left pylon wing attachment. This also notes that the pylon aft mount bulkhead is an assembly composed of 2 independent fittings bolted together with lugs. The lugs from the left pylon aft mount bulkhead were found fractured, and the associated spherical bearing assembly for this location, consisting of a ball element and bearing race, was found still installed on the left wing clevis at the accident site. So it notes that the spherical bearing race, which is normally one piece and housed within the lugs of the aft mount bulkhead, was found fractured into forward and aft portions. The investigators observed that the interior surface of the bearings race had fracture surfaces that showed evidence of fatigue cracking originating around the entire circumference at the edge of the design recess groove. This fatigue cracking extended through the thickness of the bearing race towards the exterior surface, encompassing about 75% of the fracture surface. And this is the correlating diagram that they provided in this update. They also provided these 2 images. So the spherical bearing assembly from the left pylon aft mount bulkhead, showing the bearing race fractured into forward and aft portions, and the forward portion of the fractured spherical bearing race from the left pylon aft mount bulkhead, with the right image showing the respective areas of fatigue and overstress. So that would be on this one. This is showing you the areas of fatigue and overstress. The next page talks about a Boeing service letter for MD-11s, and it was the subject of a Boeing service letter regarding previous spherical bearing race failures. So this is the same part. So this service letter from Boeing was dated February 7th, 2011, and it informed operators of the MD-11 of 4 previously reported bearing race failures, and those were on 3 different airplanes. Specifically, each failure initiated at the design recess groove on the interior surface of the bearing race. From this previous service letter, it stated that the spherical bearing race was normally flush with the outer surface of the lugs, and in these previously reported events, the bearing race was splitting into 2 pieces and allowing for these 2 pieces to migrate into the forward and aft directions. It also states that this is something that is visually identified during maintenance and observations of the plane, and there is a diagram that is included. The maintenance manual for the MD-11 was updated following the release of this letter to include inspection of the spherical bearing race for evidence of migration, specifically by checking that the spherical bearing is not protruding forward or aft beyond the surface of the pylon aft mount lugs. It also included a new configuration of this bearing assembly, which eliminated the design recess groove on the bearing race and recommended its installation in the event of an installed spherical bearing if it was found to be unserviceable. This notes that FDR and other engineering data will be incorporated into the NTSB airplane performance study to understand why the plane's altitude did not substantially increase after separation on the left pylon and engine. And finally, here's the preliminary FDR data plot for airplane and engine parameters for the last 30 seconds of recorded data for this accident flight. So this is still an ongoing investigation, so they have now released a preliminary investigation report as well as an updated report, and when they release more details, I will provide an update on that as well. I did include a link to a Google site on my bio, so if you have any comments, feedbacks, or suggestions that you don't want to put in the comments, please leave those there and I will try to incorporate them or address them.